So this is the fourth press statement on the proposed 169-acre development near the Ayer Hitam Forest Reserve. Till date, we have received from Awis at the residence there 7,541 complaints from constituents objecting to the development of the lands acquired by Jakel Group through their subsidiary called Tanah, totaling 169 acres adjacent to the Ayer Hitam Forest Reserve. Today's press statement is actually our fourth press statement on the matter, and we are disappointed that the Selangor government has not officially replied to our formal letters dated 16 December 2025 when we first came out to me. And then we had a follow-up. We gave them 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, we issued on the 6th January because there was a short break during the New Year celebration. And then we gave them further 2 weeks. Then in 16 March 2026. No reply whatsoever, even though official letter from the Member of Parlimen Subang sent to the Menteri Besar Office and the government to give us an answer. Okay? Today we are very lucky because Wadi State Assembly Member of Rawang is here. On my request, he has kindly submitted a question for the upcoming State Legislative Assembly, which will start on the 20th April 2026. And his question is as follows. So I'm going to ask Wadi to read out his question that was submitted to the government of Selangor for the other city.
Soalan ini saya hantar ke soalan, dan soalan ini adalah soalan besar. So pertanyaan saya adalah mengenai pembangunan hutan simpan air hitam biasa kepada Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Menteri Besar. Soalan seperti berikut: kronologi sejarah terperinci berkaitan tanah 169 ekar berhampiran rizab Hutan Ayer Hitam di Imrarau. Harga transaksinya, anggaran kos perolehan semula, serta penjelasan bagaimana tanah tersebut yang warga dan ditinggal kepada pemodalan negeri Selangor kepada Terano Properties Development di Sebelah Bahar.
So Terano Properties is anak syarikat Jakel. Okay. So basically, Wadi Chua has asked, very simple, which is what we asked in the last 3 letters. Why? What's the history? What's the chronology? How much do you sell it for? Okay? So I want to thank Wadi Chua for submitting the above question on our behalf and on behalf of the people of Tanah. With this submission, the Selangor government has no choice but to reply to his query because he's a state assemblyman. Maybe they feel they don't have to reply to the Selangor Member of Parliament, because technically speaking, land matters is state government. Kita Ahli Parlimen. Ahli Parlimen kita jaga national issue. But I think it's a bit far to say we don't have to reply to the government. After all, we represent the people. So after 3 surat nak jawab, kita cari jalan baru, minta bagi when you try to get, you submit the question. They cannot not answer it. Yeah? Okay? I also want to remind everybody, Selangor government since 2011 enacted the Freedom of Information Act, which is a commitment to transparency and accountability. This is the government of Pakatan Harapan. Yeah? They already have an act, they must reply. Tak nak reply Ahli Parlimen, apa? Lepas 3 surat tak reply lagi, kita minta reply kepada ADUL, which is part of the government. So I think kita boleh tunggulah 20 hari bulan bersidang. At the moment YB Syarikat dapat satu jawapan lisan daripada Menteri Besar, we will send it to you. In fact, you can also watch the proceeding. Then we will finally get an answer. What is this story really about? Yeah? I also like to quote my Prime Minister, my boss now, Yang Amat Berhormat Anwar Ibrahim's statement dated 5th January 2026, stating that all official letters, including from members of Parliament, should be replied by the authorities. I read his quote for all of you. This is what the Prime Minister said. The people ask questions, and they have every right to do so. They expect that quality of service must be more efficient and faster in answering the question. Having to wait a long time for reply is what more from member of Parliament. filling out dozens of forms just to resolve one issue and going from one department to another. All these bureaucratic hurdles must be corrected. The Prime Minister told the government, and Pakta Harapan in Selangor is part of the government, so to speak, even though they are state government. People have a right to know and people have a right to answer. That's the key point. Yeah? When Ahli Parlimen tulis surat dia tak jawab, you cannot stay. It's too much. You know? So that's why we have to ask you get to focus to do this. The fundamental issues regarding this case are quite simple. One, why did the government sell the lands and for how much? That's all we want to know. Yeah? Our search at the Pusat Maklumat Harta Tanah Negara, NAPIT, yeah? Which is a government agency under Ministry of Finance. This is what we gather from the MOF punya website. Kita buat search, kita dapat daripada MOF. Okay? I just want the government to say how much do you sell, because they must know. This freedom of information means they have to answer. Thank God, by being wicked, is putting the soalan, you can jawab lah. Bila dia jawab, the whole world will know. But for us, it's not about question about we want to press the government for anything. We are asking the government, this land here, okay, this land, buy it back from Jakel. Jakel paid money, $13.80. So what we propose to our government in the my third letter is very simple. Buy back the land at $13.80 plus 6% interest or 8% interest, whatever they feel they have to pay just well for the time of holding this land from 2012 and 2019. Yeah? So just do we have the money to buy back? We should buy back because it's so cheap at $13.80. Betul? So buy back, return some interest rate to them. Yeah? But it will cost roughly 193 million. You calculate the number. So if the state government don't have 193 million, buy back the lands that are most dangerous, the highest slope, the steep land. Later we will go to the site to have a look. Then you can see how steep the land is. Kurang-kurang buy back the land that is steep and dangerous to the people living below it. Maybe we buy back 50 acres out of 196. Maybe we buy back 70 acres, right? But do something about the safety of the people. Okay? Tanah ni jelah dulu reserve dah keluar. Okay? One of the YB Abdul said that this land was removed in 1929 or 1919 or something, a long time ago. You know? I don't want to dispute the issue, but give us a chronology. What I'm worried about is the safety of my people. And my people of Kirara, of Subang, Parlimen, they deserve green lung, they deserve good environment, and they deserve their house not kena landslide nanti. Yeah? So, semua ni tak boleh bincang langsung. Selagi kerajaan tak beritahu, dia beli berapa? Selagi kerajaan tak tunjuk sejarah transaksi, sebab semua ni kita buat search sendiri. Nanti dia cakap, ni YB ni semua salah, ni nepik ni nama ni semua salah. Beritahu kita lah. Once you give details, you show transparency and accountability, we can sit down as rational members of parliament, rational adun, to find solution for 7,000 complaints. There are much more people who complain but don't put their signature down. You understand? Ini beribu-ribu orang yang berani tulis dah 7,000 lebih, yang sign dokumen. Ya, yang tak sign lagi berapa lagi? Yang satu sign pun sign untuk anak dia, isteri dia, nenek dia. Betul? Satu rumah sign. So this is not a small matter. Yeah? The government must be better. It must be a lot better. Okay? So that's why I'm going to say that. In the worst case scenario, if the government doesn't have the money to buy back because it will cost 193 million, based on our estimation, Selangor government should consider buying back the portion of land which are very steep slopes. But keeping silent, not confirming whether they sold the land for $13.80 is not going to placate my angry constituents, and they are very angry. It will also not help improve transparency and accountability of the Selangor government, which already have a Freedom of Information Act. The developments of this grant will negatively affect my constituents. There are 7,541 of my constituents who are angry, asking for answers and solutions. And as they are member of parliament, even though we don't deal with state matter, we deal with national issue, but as a member of parliament, I will continue to press my own Pakatan Harapan government of Selangor for answers and better accountability.